Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Eric. Persistence pays off, 5 decades in the making. I'll show you why through myself and my board, why we've been in this area for almost 50 years. I like that statement, we don't want to look back, so let's look forward. For those of you who don't know us, we're technical people, dyed-in-the-wool geologists, been doing it for a while. Most of us at it for 20 or 30 years. A little bit about the company. We started it 5 years ago. Done pretty well. Never had a rollback in 5 years. Share price, woohoo, 39 cents, closed on Friday. Market cap up around 24 million. I'll show you why that's still early. And thanks, Eric, again for that other slide, saying why some people might look back and say this is potentially expensive looking backwards, but I think it's cheap looking forwards. All right, so a little quick about some of our projects up north. We've got 7 projects throughout BC and the Yukon, primarily up in the Golden Triangle area, up in northwestern BC. This KSP project is one we're going to talk about. It's got over 48 mineral occurrences on it, and we're really going to tell you about one of them today. Just to zoom in here a little bit further into what we call the core of the Golden Triangle, or what some people have called the heart of gold recently. I've jumped up and down for the last couple years, not only about our projects in the area, but others. Everyone here has probably certainly heard of Pretium, Valley of the Kings, with that mine slated for production next year. Seabridge's KSM, with some of the world's largest accumulation of copper and gold. Kind of in the northern portion here, the Eskay Creek mine, one of the highest grade precious metal VMS deposits, and off in the west, the Snip mine, 1 million ounces of gold. What a place to be. And there we are in blue, KSP project under option from our friends at Snip Gold from our old Brett Resources days, recently taken over by offer from Seabridge. And then we also doubled our land position in something called the Kingpin. So for those of you familiar with the area, we basically control a land package now that goes from the old Grand Duke mine in the south to almost the Snip mine in the northwest, a distance of about 65 kilometers, or from those of you here in town, almost a distance from here to Whistler. So nice perspective, a large land holding. In terms of holders in the area, it goes Pretium, Colorado, Seabridge. And yeah, wow, what a exciting last few weeks this has been. Northern Miner, Eric Coffin here, of course, picking us as one of the #1 drill play speculators. Heart of Gold, Seabridge takeover of Snip Gold. So I called it the KSP property for a reason. Not only did it have the same kind of geology as the KSM camp, but it was also stood for some of the other occurrences, Khyber, Saracite, and Pyramid in the area. Government geologists came there in the last couple of years and kind of confirmed our suspicions that the geology was very similar. You really want to be in a setting here where the green rocks meet the pale rocks and intruded by the pink rocks. I mean, that's quite simple. Come by our booth and we'll explain a little bit more. But essentially, I think with Seabridge coming into the area where we are, further acknowledgement that the rocks are very similar to the KSM camp to the east. So although the geology has been great for at least 100 million years, the infrastructure hasn't been all that great until the last few years. Just here, for those of you who haven't been up in the area for a while, that's a bridge over the Iskut River. That's a 300-man construction camp of Alta Gas. So there's now not only transmission lines and roads, basically on the doorstep of our claims now. So you combine good geology with significantly improved infrastructure. That's a real recipe for success. So not only good to have good geology and good infrastructure, but better yet to have good gold in the rocks. So down in the far right-hand part of the slide there, you can see entire mountain ranges of rusty altered rocks, very similar to what they have in the KSM camp. This here is a plot. Keep in mind that that's 300 square kilometers, and we're contouring gold at 0.5 gram gold. So very sizable. We're really just to talk about that box there. So good to have the chemistry in the soils, but also good to have it in the rocks. And we'll also show you we have it not only in rock samples, but we have it also in historical drill holes. This area, and here's one of our directors up in the top slide there in the helicopter in the 60s. They were really there for the zinc days. This was days of Texas Gulf and Skyline and the likes. For those of you in the room, this is when I really came up into the area in the 80s. Just look at all the area players there, of course, Murray Pesum days, and some of my mentors in the business there, Ron Nedlitsky, Larry Nagy, John Toffin. So when you overlay that now with what we hold there, 65 square kilometers, we now have assembled more than about 38 different separate land holding packages under one ownership. In the 80s, they went in there, did quite a bit of work. There was quite a bit of snow and ice. Like I say, I was up in that area back in the days when I used to have a lot more hair. And it did quite a bit of work. They had some pretty impressive drill hole results, but they didn't really have a good grasp of the surface geology because of the snow and the ice. Look at some of those historical numbers, and we'll be pleased to tell you more about them at our booth. Examples like 3.5 meters of 424 grams gold, 7.5 meters of 21 grams gold. So I remember talking to Eric, 3 short months ago, and he said, "Do you think people will care about this, Eric?" So I don't know. I think we want to talk about Kaminak and development stories, but maybe people will start to care about early stage exploration. And I think you pegged it. So fast forward to today. Technology, wow, that's a Google Earth image there. Any one of you can go zoom in and you can see the old exploration camp. We've had the benefit of snow and ice melting back, do some good surface geology mapping. And so we're able to piece together what we see on surface plus what they had historically done, and we put this news release out on February 29th. Okay, that's an area there about 1.5 square kilometers that's averaging almost 1.3 grams per ton gold in soils. Those trends there that you see with those red dotted lines are about 1 kilometer long each. We've done some more expanded sampling that they weren't able to do with the snow and ice cover up to the uphill portion. You can see we've got soil anomalies there greater than 1 gram gold. We know the gold didn't roll uphill, so it's probably at least a couple more trends in there. There's an example of the snip mine. It's a cross section, albeit. It's about 300 meters of strike length and about 500 meters down dip. That's the same scale as that map. Here's the granddaddy of them all in the area. That's the development plan for the Valley of Kings. Down in the bottom half of the bottom half of their slide, that's the area they call, of course, the Valley of Kings. So lots of room here. That's my main point. We look at this in 3 dimensions at a Google Earth image. We've got new infrastructure and roads and hydroelectric power plants at McClymont Creek, less than 10 kilometers away in the distance. We're contouring gold there again, 500 parts per billion. We've talked to really about only this area yet, I know. We haven't mentioned anything about Khyber, 1,100 soil samples averaging 0.8 grams, or even Pyramid, or Tammy, or Black Bluff. This truly is a district. Just quickly along here, I just really wanted to show people now we figured out the geology on this, and we've got the mineralization is related to these dike margins. What's really interesting about this is that these dikes are dipping down the slope, which really allows us to drill them at very shallow holes. So for instance, I've sort of put together a hypothetical drill program or conceptual. These are 100 to 150 meter spaced holes, long holes. I don't remember the last time I drilled holes this short looking at a target. So just to summarize up here quickly, I see at Inel 1.27 grams per ton gold in a soil anomaly over 1.5 square kilometers. At least 3 known historical trends and probably a couple more uphill. Deepest drill hole that was done was only about 75 meters below surface. They were drilling with AQ and BQ core. They only sampled about 40% of the drill core. And look at some of those numbers that they got. So we're going to go in, we're going to target some of this known mineralization. We're going to drill it with NQ size drill core, about 3 times the volume. It's a simple program, 100 to 150 meter holes on surface. We're going to continue to take those old results and expand upon it. This area has only really seen, less than a quarter of the area has been targeted, even just on surface, let alone at depth. So thanks again for your time, and please feel free to come by the booth, and we'd love to talk to you further.